BRICS foreign ministers discussed the defense of multilateralism on the second day of their meeting in Rio de Janeiro. In Venezuela, the Prime Minister of Grenada, Dickon Mitchell, paid homage to liberator Simón Bolívar by laying a wreath at the leader's resting place. And the International Court of Justice began the second day of hearings on Israel's humanitarian obligations towards the Palestinians, more than 50 days into the regime's total blockade of aid to the Gaza Strip. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. We now begin with the information. On the second day of the BRICS foreign ministers meeting in Rio de Janeiro, representatives discussed the defense of multilateralism in the face of threats and pressures on the global economy made by the United States. On the agenda is the role of the Global South, as representatives are expected to draft a declaration for subsequent approval at the BRICS summit to be held in Rio de Janeiro in July. On Monday, Brazil urged the countries of the bloc to defend preventive peace diplomacy and to join efforts to reject global conflicts both in the Middle East and in Ukraine. At the same time, China advocated maintaining the multilateral trade rules in force as one of the pressing issues at the moment in world geopolitics. In Venezuela on Tuesday, the Prime Minister of Grenada, Dickon Mitchell, paid homage to liberator Simón Bolívar by laying a wreath at the leader's resting place. The ceremony took place at the National Pantheon in the capital, Caracas, the site that guards Bolívar's remains. The Prime Minister, accompanied by his delegation and Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil, signed the guest book at the Pantheon. Mitchell is on an official visit in Venezuela aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation on different sectors. Diplomatic ties between Venezuela and Grenada have lasted for over 40 years based on cooperation, solidarity, and the respect for peace and sovereignty. Also in Venezuela, this Tuesday begins the electoral campaign period for the upcoming general elections to be held on May 25th. From now and until May 22nd, candidates for deputies, governors, and representatives of the state legislative councils will present their proposals throughout the Venezuelan territory. For this, 54 political organizations will begin mobilizations with their militancy to present their proposals. In this context, the National Electoral Council of Venezuela called on all parties, candidates, citizens, and the media to promote a harmonious and respectful campaign focused on the debate of ideas and the commitment to peace, ethics, and conscious participation. And in other news, 3 of the 17 military personnel investigated in Ecuador for the forced disappearance of 4 Afro-descendant minors told prosecutors about the torture that the victims allegedly received from their colleagues. This led to the prosecutor's office and the lawyers to once again visit several areas of Taura, where the military had claimed until now that they had left the minors free and alive. On the night of December 8th, the brothers Ismael and Josue Arroyo and their friends Saúl Arboleda and Steven Medina were irregularly detained by 2 patrols and were taken to Taura near an Ecuadorian Air Force base. The autopsy of the minors revealed that they had been shot in the head.
In this new reconstruction, it has been possible to provide information regarding how the 3 adolescents and the 11-year-old boy were taken, including that there were blows that could constitute an act of torture. In this tour that was given, those who gave their version indicated that the children were indeed beaten, that it could constitute an act of torture not only in the last scenario, but also in a second scenario where they were even taken out of a van, were beaten, and were in the same way they were put into the van, that is to say, in a very abrupt manner.
The government of Argentina declassified a series of confidential documents on the past presence of several Nazi leaders in the country. The General Archive of the Nation put on its webpage files that refer to the operations of German war criminals in the South American nation. These are about 1,850 reserved and confidential documentary pieces which refer to the activities of high Nazi commanders such as Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel of Death for his crimes in Auschwitz. Among the classified files, there are also 2 folders concerning Adolf Hitler's private secretary, Martin Bormann, and Adolf Eichmann, an official in the Nazi regime. The declassified materials includes confidential records of the Federal Police and the former Secretariat of State Intelligence. The Immigration Department of the Dominican Republic registered a total of 1,096 Haitian citizens deported in the last 24 hours. The General Directorate of Migration of the country carried out operations in several places, such as the capital, Santo Domingo, where at least 199 Haitians with irregular status were detained, followed by 22 migrants in Santiago de los Caballeros, 156 in La Vega, 54 between the city of Mao and Santiago Rodriguez, among others. According to local media, the Haitians were taken to detention centers for illegal aliens to be registered and evaluated according to the protocols for their respective repatriation. In the United States, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt assured in a press conference that the government is prepared for the largest deportation campaign in its history. The massive deportations were one of the Republicans' campaign promises after blaming the migrants for allegedly destroying the United States and ruining the lives of the citizens of his country. It was recently revealed that the Social Security Administration had already eliminated more than 6,000 immigrants from its database, leaving them without the possibility of receiving benefits or working in the country. It was announced that the White House has the objective of deporting 1 million immigrants, but some experts consider it unlikely since there are several legal impediments. Now we have a short break coming up, but first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The opposition United National Congress Party won the parliamentary elections held in Trinidad and Tobago. This means its leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, becomes the new Prime Minister-elect. The union won 25 of the 41 seats in dispute, almost 61% of the total, which is considered a landslide victory. After the results were announced, the leader of the union and next Prime Minister of the country, Bissessar, appeared before her supporters in a public act and offered a speech in which she outlined her future government actions. More than 1 million people went to the polls as the day unfolded normally, according to official reports. And more on this landslide victory by our collaborator in Trinidad and Tobago, Crystal Hort.
The people of Trinidad and Tobago have spoken in a stunning political upset that has redrawn the political map of the Twin Island Republic. The United National Congress, UNC, led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar, has swept to victory in the 2025 general election, toppling the People's National Movement, PNM, from government after a decade in power. Preliminary figures show 26 seats for the UNC, 13 for the PNM, and 2 for the TPP, the Tobago People's Party. Celebrations broke out in several strongholds from as early as 9 last night, as results confirmed the win. While across the political aisle, heartbreak at Balestier House, where the outgoing government acknowledged the outcome just after 10 p.m. PNM's political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, conceded defeat. It was a general election that saw third parties, which added a fresh voice and alternative option. The National Transformation Alliance, NTA, spearheaded by former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, as well as the Patriotic Front, led by Michaela Pandey, the daughter of legendary politician Basdio Pandey, fielded candidates in many of the 41 constituencies. But the status quo that is Trinidad two-party system, PNM versus UNC, did not change. However, it must be noted that both seats in Tobago went to TPP. Today, celebrations are still ongoing. The party at UNC headquarters continued well into this morning, and I can share that Kamala Persad-Bissessor is expected to come right here to the President's house to be sworn in as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. The people have made their choice, and now the work of governing begins. Persad-Bissessor will be Prime Minister for a second time, and leading to Parliament a group of incumbents, new faces, and several collision of interest partners. The PNM will decide their opposition leader tomorrow. Crystal Hoyt for teleSUR.
In Canada, the Liberal Party of Prime Minister Mark Carney won the legislative elections but did not achieve an absolute majority. This way, the Liberal Party now has 155 seats to the Conservatives' 119, followed by the Quebec Bloc with 21 and the New Democratic Party with only 7 seats. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, triumphed over Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, whose party was shaping up to form a significant opposition in Parliament. During his victory speech, Carney vowed to work for the people and to minimize divisions. Furthermore, he addressed the threats by U.S. President Trump and assured that Canada has many options to build prosperity besides that of its neighboring nation.
As we come here after this most consequential election, let's put an end to the division and anger of the past. We are all Canadian, and my government will work for and with everyone. When I sit down with President Trump, it will be to discuss the future economic and security relationship between two sovereign nations. And it will be with our full knowledge that we have many, many other options than the United States to build prosperity for all Canadians. That is the spirit of the PN behind me right there.
After a massive and unprecedented blackout that hit most of Spain and Portugal on Monday, Spain's electricity capacity has been fully restored. Through a post made by Electric Network, the flagship company of the essential infrastructure operator Redeia, it was also announced that 100% of the substations of the transmission network were energized. As a consequence of the blackout in the Iberian Peninsula, the Spanish Minister of the Interior, Fernando Grande Marlaska, declared the emergency of national interest in the autonomous communities of Extremadura, La Rioja, Murcia, Andalucía, and Madrid. The Council of National Security is scheduled to meet this Tuesday.
First of all, I would like to announce the good news that the electricity system is currently functioning normally, in a stable and correct way. But with the analyses we have been able to carry out so far, we can rule out a cybersecurity incident in the Power Grid Control Center.
Also in this context, during his appearance before the media, the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sánchez, indicated that the executive does not exclude any hypothesis regarding the general blackout of Monday. The head of the government informed about the opening of an investigation within the National Security Council to find the cause of the failure that caused the national power crisis. The Prime Minister explained that the hypothesis regarding the failure will not be discarded after the National Electricity Network rejected the claims of a possible cyber attack. The Prime Minister of Spain respected the private entity that issues its information, transmits and discards its certain hypotheses, but also urged that they be carried out accurately.
Por tanto, yo creo que al igual que el gobierno de España está siendo...
I believe that just as the Spanish government is being cautious, not discarding any hypothesis but neither singling out one option or the other, I believe that we all have to do this exercise because it is the best way to contribute to social calm, to the peace of mind of the citizens and to the work that the technicians have to do. So that we can then make political decisions to guarantee and reinforce a system that is robust, as is being shown by the rapid recovery that we have witnessed in the last hours.
We have a second short break coming up, but before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverages, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. The Israeli occupation army launched several airstrikes on the Gaza Strip as famine worsens in the devastated Palestinian enclave. Wafa news agency reported that 5 Palestinians were killed and 30 others were wounded on Tuesday morning in an Israeli shelling of the Al-Mawasi humanitarian zone in Khan Yunis. Meanwhile, they reported a catastrophic deterioration of the humanitarian situation, food and water shortages due to the Israeli blockade, and the ongoing siege on Gazan infrastructure. In this regard, the World Food Programme Office in Gaza reported that 60,000 children have been diagnosed with acute malnutrition and are being treated in hospitals. And the International Court of Justice began the second day of hearings at The Hague on Israel's humanitarian obligations toward the Palestinians more than 50 days into the regime's total blockade of aid to the Gaza Strip. At the start of Tuesday's hearing, the representatives of South Africa, St. Angor, denounced that Palestinians are being subjected to genocide under the watchful eye of the world. Well, during Monday's hearing, Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, condemned the Israeli aggression on Gaza and called on the top court to ensure that the Zionist regime is held accountable for its actions. The 15th-judge panel will hear over the next 5 days from at least 40 countries and organizations commenting on Israel's illegal duties towards Palestine and Tel Aviv's restrictions on UN agencies in Gaza.
There can be no justification for such indiscriminate, widespread, and systematic breach of these fundamental rules that lie at the heart of the international law-based order. No justification whatsoever for abandoning an entire nation to the most horrific fate. Denying humanitarian and development assistance to the Palestinian people is an integral part of the breach by Israel of the rights of the Palestinian people guaranteed by these fundamental norms. It is paramount that the court, while determining Israel's obligations in relation to these norms, also remind all states, I repeat, remind all states and the international community as a whole of their obligation to bring those breaches to an end. Ensuring accountability to end these breaches is the assistance we most desperately need. We need your help.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sheikh Naim Qassem, denounced that the Zionist regime of Israel has violated the ceasefire agreement with their country in 3,000 different occasions.
كل العالم يشهدون أن لبنان التزم.
The whole world bears witness that Lebanon and the resistance have committed to the ceasefire agreement. There has not been a single breach from our side. However, Israel has violated and attacked more than 3,000 times.
The Hezbollah leader also took the opportunity to denounce the biased position of the United States government in collaborating with Netanyahu's regime.
نحن نطالب الدولة اللبنانية أن تتحرك.
We call on the Lebanese state to take greater action
بشكل متفاعل
on a daily and interactive basis. Summon the ambassadors of the 5 major countries. File complaints with the security councils. Always summon the American ambassador because she does not act properly, is biased towards Israel, and the United States does not fulfill its role as a sponsor, but rather partners with the Israeli entity.
And also in Yemen, nearly 70 people were killed and 47 others were wounded following a new U.S. attack on a detention center in the western province of Sada. The Yemeni resistance movement Ansarullah denounced that the center sheltered 115 people, highlighting that attacking innocent civilians adds to the record of crimes of the United States against the population. The armed forces of the country stated that this attack, under the supervision of international organizations, constitutes a war crime. The aggressions against Yemen are parts of an offensive against the military operations in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden that are being carried out against ships bound for Israel in response to the genocidal escalation against the Palestinian people. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For teleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.